Hey guys, my name is David Adams. I'm with Serious Digital. Listen, I want to thank you for checking out this webinar, Killer YouTube Videos. Basically, the idea is using our video to either brand better or sell more. That's really the undercurrent part to it. But the biggest thing is making our videos more effective. Now, a little bit about myself. When we talk about it, I've been in software development for about 20 years. Doing either building software or managing software developers. I started publishing content about 10 years ago on a blog, and it was really around content focused on pro football and doing picks and football teams and stuff like that, kind of some comedy and fun type stuff. But so I've been doing content for a good while. About a year ago, I transitioned and started doing some content in the video type format. This webinar specifically, as I done the video content, did different things went well, things didn't go as well, things I learned. This webinar is actually a lot of things that I kind of picked up to make my videos better. A lot of different people and a lot of different ideas that I kind of brought into it, but come up to this kind of an idea of the killer type video, which I produce now. And I wanted to definitely share this with you guys and let you get the opportunity to check it out. When you talk about it, a few months ago, I woke up and whatnot and taking a shower, and this sort of came to me. I had frustration of why my videos weren't as effective. Now, when I talk about effectiveness in our videos and our content, really, it's either in attracting an audience or engaging that audience or influencing that audience to take some type of an action that we want them to do or they need to do. But it was like, why is it not working? Why is it not working? The idea that came to me, and I actually tweeted it out, was that if you're not creating and publishing your videos for your audience in mind, they're not listening. Now, really, that applies to content as well. A lot of us, we actually build content, whether we write or we do audio or do video. It's just something we want to say. Rants actually work, guys, but it can't all be that. There's got to be something to meet of what we're actually delivering that's going to be value. The reason it doesn't work, maybe a few years ago it would. You could put cat videos on YouTube and actually get likes for it. You don't anymore. And there's really two reasons to that. One is it's not, it becomes, is this a noisy environment, guys? Our phones being with Twitter and Facebook notifications, they being with text messages, our laptops actually being with emails. Anything that comes up on YouTube that we might be subscribed to shows the video in the feed at the top. Everything that we actually is a noisy environment, guys. It's very difficult to attract people's attention, and it's even harder to actually hold it. You've actually got to get good content, good value out there to do it. And then the second part, and it becomes a two thing as well, is from identification of the target. A lot of times we don't do a very good job of identifying the target because we may not even thought about who we're really trying to talk to. We're just trying to talk to everyone. If you're talking to everyone, guys, you're talking to no one. Because if I don't think you're talking to me, I'm not listening. And that becomes the second part to it, right? Is that you have an audience that might actually see what you're trying to do, but it becomes unclear who you're talking to and what you're really saying to them, and they end up getting some notification or somewhere else they're going to go and they're gone. And you've actually lost that opportunity to connect with them. Now, if you think about it, the why of why it's not working, why we have these problems, most people don't have a script. I know I didn't. Just, hey, I just want to say blah, blah, blah. And you know what? It didn't work. Because the idea of not having a script and some kind of idea for what you're trying to do is we will definitely have the introduction. And we may have a bunch of ideas and points and stories that we're sharing. And most of us even have some type of call to action. But it's all a jumbled mess. It's stuck into the middle. Oh, by the way, go do this. And then we go to talking again. And by the time they get to the end, they've already forgotten what we said. There's really no focus to it. There's no script to it. And even if we do have a script, it's not really a good one. That's what I hope this killer video is going to be able to share for us, guys, is because I've been doing this with a lot of my videos recently, and the effectiveness of them has been increasing. It's really helping it out, and I want to share this with you. Now, specifically when we talk about the videos, there's a typical way that we all do videos. If there is a script, this is it. Hey, here's my introduction, which kind of has who am I, It might be who I'm talking to. Usually we don't. But, what are you trying to talk about? And And then a bunch of content, which is the points and stories, which isn't really that different. Most all of that stays the same. And then some kind of a wrap-up and conclusion. But a lot of times when we get the wrap-up and conclusion, it's like, well, was this something they really wanted me to do? Or is this, I don't know, right? And so this is sort of how typical, and it sort of follows that thing that we learned in 3rd and 4th grade, which is how to write a paragraph, right? Introduction, content, conclusion, right? It's the same thing we used to do when we wrote. Realistically, we can't write content that way anymore either, guys, because is there's no engagement. There's too much noise. We've got to actually attract them and let them know. Now, what I did is I created 2 videos. One that's more of a typical video type style, which you're going to see in just a moment. You're going to see excerpts of it in just a moment. And then I created a more killer video style, which is really almost the exact same video. But it has some of these killer video type elements added to it and appended to it that you're going to see about in just a few minutes. And I'm going to let you get the opportunity to kind of see the difference and see how it might be different. Both this typical video and the killer video, where you're going to see the video sequences, they're excerpts. The entire videos are on my blog as well as on my YouTube channel. Definitely go check this out. I'll actually have a link in the description to both. So you guys will actually, if you want to see, hey, here's how the real 4 to 5 minutes of this video from the typical perspective looked, and here's how the 4 to 6 minutes of the more killer video style, how it looked, and you can actually differentiate that from the full video. I don't have time to do it in this webinar, but it's completely accessible, guys. Like I said, on my blog and my YouTube channel, you can see both. But with that, let's check the excerpts out of our typical video. Hey guys, my name is David Adams, and today I'm going to show you how to tie a bowline knot. Now, I've been involved in scouting a part of my life. I was a scout as a youth. I've been an adult leader for 6 or 7 years. The knot that I'm going to show you today, the bowline, is actually, I could probably almost tie this thing in my sleep. Now, some of you may be familiar with it. A bowline is actually a knot that creates a loop that they use in rescues sometimes. Sometimes people call it a rescue knot or a hiker's knot. Right hand and take from the end that's got the end and pull a second loop. And this loop, and I'm going to do with my right hand a clockwise turn. Again, I'm going to have a close-up and show you kind of this while we're working it through. But what you do is this hole is actually, when you hear the story about the rabbit in the hole, this is where it comes from. Because this is the rabbit in my right hand and the hole in my left. Now, the rope that goes around to the end that's in my right hand, we can call that the ground. The rope that's going to go up to the rescuer, we'll call that the tree. But what that largely creates is you've got the rabbit's hole, the tree, and the rabbit, who comes up, as the story goes, out of the hole, around the tree, and back in down the hole for a bowline. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate you checking out the video today. Please check back again. I'll have other knot videos that you can listen to and watch. But subscribe at the end, as those are the videos get added. You'll get to be notified as those come up. But anyway, my name's David, and again, this was how to tie a bowline, and I'll check with you next time. I think from the perspective, you could see the elements, right? Introduction, content, conclusion, right? You can actually see how that worked from a typical video perspective. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what I call the killer video. And the killer video is very similar, right? You look at this, well, there's the 1, 2, 3, there's the introduction, there's the content, and the conclusion too. You're right. However, the killer video, the kind of the secret sauce and the trick to doing this is actually what you do on the ends. Because specifically, our video and our content, specifically the content, a lot of times can be applicable to lots of groups, right? But at the end of the day, we're never setting up the situation of where we know who we're talking to, right? And I just can't really tell if you're talking to me. So the big thing that the killer videos will actually allow is they add this tease and a send-off idea where you're actually sub-segmenting down your audience in those areas, right? At the beginning, when I want to make sure you know who I am talking to, right? I'm not talking to doctors. You know what? I'm talking to podiatrists. And I might not be even talking to podiatrists. I might be talking to podiatrists who are surgeons, right? And you know what? Specifically, the content may be applicable to all podiatrists. But now, if I sit here and say, hey, all doctors, go check out this foot stuff. You know what? I won't even get the podiatrist there. However, if I'll say, hey, foot podiatrists that do surgery, you need to check this information out. I'm much more likely to, because the people that are that, especially guys that we're moving in some of our videos into things like LinkedIn, right, where we're talking to professionals, and it can work on Facebook too, right, when you're talking to groups. At the end of the day, if we can start sub-segmenting down these audiences, especially at the entry point and the exit point, the tease and the send-off, then it'll become way more effective, guys. That's really the secret sauce how it works. Now, coming up, we're going to actually show a more killer video style. You're going to notice it's almost the exact same video. It just has a different part to the tease and a different part to the send-off that actually starts communicating some of that, and you'll be able to see it and understand how that's a little bit different. But with that, let's check out the excerpts from the killer video. Hey guys, we have absolutely all been there, right? Yes, knots. Oh my gosh, the knot class. the knot tying competition. Man, there's nothing that breeds fear into adult leaders more than the thought that this coming up next week, they're actually going to have to teach knots to the 12-year-olds. And there's 15 of them. How are we going to keep them to pay attention? I can't even tie the knot myself. My gosh, this book, the illustrations don't matter. Listen, don't worry, guys. If you'll just check onto this video coming up, my name's David Adams. I'm going to show you how to tie a bowline in the video that's coming up. And I'm going to go through it. I'll basically do it a couple of times. I'll have some close-ups to help you with it. You'll get to watch it. Do it along with me. But at the end of the day, listen, I've been involved in scouting. I was a scout as a youth. I've been an adult leader for 6 or 7 years. I can almost tie this knot, the bowline, in my sleep. What you do is this hole is actually, when you hear the story about the rabbit in the hole, this is where it comes from. Because this is the rabbit in my right hand and the hole in my left. Now, the rope that goes around to the end that's in my right hand, we can call that the ground. That does beat being stuck down on the bottom of on the ledge. Hey guys, and listen, that is how you tie a bowline. I appreciate you checking out the video today. Shortly coming up, there's going to be a couple of end cards. One will let you subscribe to the channel as I add other videos to the channel, outdoor skills, knots, starting fires, whatever we may add to the channel. You can get notified as that is. Otherwise, there'll be another end card that will allow you to actually sign up for a newsletter. What I'll typically do with that is any content I do on a blog or anything else, I'll let you know. A lot of good blog content that comes out about outdoor skills or how you might do things or even how you might be able to help the youth learn deals and how to train the youth. All those kinds of things I'll be adding in the blog over time, and I'll let you know as those things get added so that you can get the learnings along with me. Especially, that'll get you and I connected. If you have particular questions, something that you might want to see in a video that I've not done, let me know and drop a line for that too once we get connected. That'd be a great thing, guys. Listen, I appreciate you checking out the video again. Again, my name is David Adams. Today you've been learning how to do a bowline. I definitely want you to check out the channel and come back soon. Appreciate it. Bye. Hey, welcome back, guys. Listen, I think you could actually tell the difference, and I'm sure you can tell the difference if you were one of the members of the groups that were sub-segmented that I was talking to, adult scouters, right? Then you know what? You can see how, you know what? I'd have been probably more interested in actually watching the video content, and I'd be more likely to actually take the steps at the end because I knew he was talking to me. Now, when you talk about the killer videos, why do they work? There's really 3 ways, guys. They're more individually focused, right? That's obvious. They are process specific. And that deals more with relationships. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then they're time appropriate. And that's specifically of how you actually identify the tease, identify the people you're talking to, and show them that tease, and show them that call to action. In the ways of individually focused, the biggest thing that we want to, that kind of gets into the audience's head when they see this is, wow, it seems as if this video was made for me. That's what we want to do, guys. Because if you just create a video and say, hey, everybody, then I may or may not listen. I probably won't. But now if you say, hey, guy, hey, software development manager, who has people that work offshore. Oh, wow, you know what? This may be more for me. And you know what? That's what we're trying to foster. Both the beginning, the tease, and the send-off is more individually focused, right? It's actually attracting people by naming them, even if it's the sub-segments, right? You may not be able to do it by saying, hey, John Smithmeyer, do this, right? There's 300 million people. Now, you know what? If your audience is 10, your intended audience is 10 people, that might work. If it's 100 or 1,000, it might not. But there are sub-segments in that group, and this is why it works. Because you know what? You can take that sub-segment and create a tease for them. And then you can create a send-off for the actions that you specifically want them to take. It may be very similar actions to the others. But you know what? You've tailored those send-off and those actions and those next steps for them. It's more appropriate. And like I said, by doing it as the breakdown like that, it's sort of the last point down here, it's more appropriate for them. It's focusing on the audience. It's not more about what you want to say, it's actually what actions they need to take. Now, when you go from individually focused to process specific, it seems like, the thing that goes into their head is it seems like every step just kind of naturally follows the next. Right? When we do real relationships, right? I said that it actually follows a progression of historical relationships, right? And that goes into the digital environment. We don't walk into bars. None of us do this, right? And say, hey, all girls, I'm here. Right? Hey, all guys, I'm looking for a date. That's really not what we do. We don't walk up to somebody in the first meet and say, hey, do you want to have kids? Not appropriate, right? We don't do this anywhere. And yet, but we try to create content, create videos as if it's just going to everyone, right? And like I said, that's not how you build a relationship. Specifically, as I begin to realize you're talking more to me, and I get the feeling that you're talking more to me, that builds trust, right? Because it builds my trust in you, the guide, and then where you're trying to lead me, I've had experience with you that you are actually thinking about me and about what my best next steps might be. I'm going to trust you more. And if I begin to build trust more to you, I'm sort of going to start following the journey that you're trying to lead me on. And time appropriate, guys. Big one. Big deal here, right? Don't miss this. Time appropriate. Because realistically, if you're creating these teases and these send-offs, you know what? As that sub-segment's interest might change, you can actually do a different tease, right? You can do a different send-off. If there's some specific change to what they need to do, if there's some specific change to what podiatrists need to do, you can be sharing all the information that goes generically to doctors. But if there's some specific action that podiatrists need to take, or throat surgeons, right? Or, brain x-ray guys, whatever it is, and firemen who, do river rescues. If there are specific things that they can do, whether it's trainings or equipment, you can actually change the send-off for them, right? But it doesn't really impact your content, and it really doesn't impact what you might be telling to some other group. And one thing that does is the more that your information is time appropriate, guys, it's where it starts building that idea into their head of, you know what? It just seems like they knew what I was looking for and what I needed. And again, guys, building trust, right? Because if you know me and you know what I need, and I begin seeing that it's more individually focused toward me, and it's more process specific, and it's time appropriate for when I need it, that just builds the trust. I'm more likely to follow along into that send-off area where a lot of times, guys, if you think about it, yes, we want our videos to be effective at attracting an audience. We want our videos and content to be effective at engaging the audience. But at the end of the day, most all of us guys, what we want is our content and our videos to be able to influence them, to make some kind of change in their life, to kind of do something that we want to lead them toward. And what you're trying to do, guys, is build that trust so that they can take that next step to that next action. Well, listen, guys, here's kind of the recap to it. And again, make sure you focus. I mean, we talked about that the 1, 2, and 3 is pretty much the same. We tweaked a little bit from the introduction and the conclusion and put that into those teases and send-offs to actually make that more targeted to those sub-segments, right? Specifically either attracting them or motivating them to take change. That and the key is what these killer videos do, guys. It doesn't really change our videos all that much. You know what? Because a lot of times the information and the content is really the same. The information to all doctors may be very similar. There may be some specific points that are a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's how we want to attract them and bring them in, and how we want to actually send them out to do some kind of next steps. That's really the key, and it's really the key to build that trust and get that action from them, guys. Listen, if you remember the quote from beginning, from the earlier part, they said that if you're not creating and publishing your videos with the audience in mind, they're not listening. Here's the flip side, guys. If you are creating and publishing your videos or your content for your audience in mind, not only can they hear you, they're going to respond to you as well. And that's the key, guys. That's actually the payoff to it. Because when they respond to us, they're taking action. You know what? And that's probably for their betterment and ours too. Listen, guys. Here's some places where you can connect with me. Got Twitter, Facebook, whatnot to connect. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your thoughts on the webinar was. And I really want to hear some feedback on the ideas, right? Now, what I did do is coming up shortly. There's going to be some end caps showing up. To where actually, I've got 4 kind of techniques where you can make your videos more like a killer video type standard, right? And there's some techniques you can do. You can actually look at my killer video. It's got all 4 of them right in it. Those techniques in it, and you can kind of see how I'm talking about it. The first video that comes up, there's going to be a short video introduction to the idea of each of the 4, and then there's more of a longer form content on my blog. All the links are going to be attached so that you can actually follow it through. I'd love to have some conversations around that, whether it's on Twitter or on Facebook, or even just comments and emails, guys. Check me out. Again, let me thank you for checking out the webinar. I'm always looking for feedback, wanting to hear it. But with that, the end cards are coming up. Hey guys, thank you again for checking out the Killer Videos webinar. Listen, it's a good thing, and like I said, coming up right now, we're going to have the end cap showing up to give you some opportunities for some next steps, next things you can check out. Down below, there's actually some links in my blog and that actually has some more long form content about some of those 4 ideas, or the opportunity to get some more details about how I did either the typical or the killer video videos, as well as some other long form content to things that I do, definitely check that out. But coming up, you're going to have either A, you're going to have the opportunity to get the 4 techniques to make your videos more like a killer video, or B, you're going to get the opportunity to kind of see either the long form video in YouTube of the typical video or the killer video. But either way, boy, guys, 2 end caps you guys have the opportunity to see. But while those end caps are showing, I want to again take the opportunity to say thank you. Definitely reach out, connect with that link that you saw earlier. Some of the different places you can connect with me, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or just a plain old email, guys. I want to hear from you and want to see what we're doing, and want to definitely share some of these ideas, and hopefully I'll get better as well. But listen, guys, thank you again. This is David, and I'm out.